Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I got my friend Will here, back again.
What's up, guys?
And we got a really great video for you guys. I made a video on my podcast channel about things that only Swedish people like that nobody else does. And we're gonna do the opposite of that in this video. Things that Swedish people do not like, that people in other places of the world do like.
Yeah, that they're okay with, at least.
They're okay with, at least, yeah. So here you guys are going to hear it, the American perspective of what Swedish people do not like. One of the first things you notice when you first come to Scandinavia, not only Sweden, but a lot of the countries around here, is that they really try to avoid small talk, I would say.
Yeah. As Americans, we are okay talking to everyone all the time. And as a matter of fact, one of the first things you will hear from most Europeans is that we talk too much.
Yeah.
Like, especially when they go to America, to the US, they'll be like, yeah, well, just calm down.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
It's sort of like a skill that I think, like, if you don't do it a lot, like, you don't have as much practice with it. And I notice it in, like, a lot of aspects of life here in Sweden that, like, people will, like, not hold eye contact as long versus, like, when I go back to other countries, I'm just like, oh, wow. Like, people are, like, looking at me and, like, smiling. And I'm like, I don't know if I should feel uncomfortable or not. Because I've been, like, living in Sweden for so long now that your brain just has a way of, like, being in this culture. And I watched a great video about this on the BBC YouTube channel talking about the small talk in Sweden. And they were saying that, like, it could have been because Sweden was, like, such a, like, rural, like, spread out communities. Like, because it's not so densely populated, like, people were not having those, like, interactions with each other as much. And even today, like, Sweden is a huge country.
Right.
And, you know, people are very spread out here.
You know what I love about it, though? It can get you into a nice awkward moment. And I love how I'm saying there, but Sweden, and also I lived in Denmark also, and just in general, their comedy uses a lot of that. Have you ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm? I think it is, or
I haven't seen.
There's a lot of these sitcoms and stuff like that over here where they love to have that awkward moment in that scene. They'll just let it sit, and you're gonna run into those small talk moments here in Sweden where you'll say something, because in America we'll let the conversation just keep bouncing. It just keeps going. If something's not happening, we're gonna carry it going. They'll just let you.
Nu är ingen i trappuppgången. Om jag skyndar mig nu så slipper jag träffa grannen.
Hej!
Åh nej, nu småpratar den här också. Hej!
Nu måste jag säga någonting innan hon tycker jag är skum. Vädret. Jag vet inte hur vädret är idag. Fint väder.
Vädret? Jag vet inte hur vädret är idag.
Ja, jättefint.
Nu måste jag säga någonting innan han tycker att jag är helt självupptagen. Och se den här hissen här. Kom igen.
Nu har jag inlett konversationen. Jättestelt. Ska jag säga något mer innan hon tycker jag är den skumma väderkillen?
The second thing that people in Sweden really don't like, and this is something that people love in America, is sugary, sweet coffee.
Well, we love sugar with everything.
Yeah, sugar with everything.
We have sugar water. That's just our thing. Like, we have sugar in everything. I have never, fun fact for you, everyone, I've never tried coffee, ever.
Wow.
I've never had a sip of coffee.
Well, as a football player, they say that caffeine is one of the number one performance-enhancing drugs.
I didn't say I don't get my caffeine.
Okay.
But I don't get it from coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I've just never had it. It smells good. I think it would be great. I just don't. And I can imagine that, you know, knowing a lot of Europeans, they say our coffee is disastrous in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it's richer here.
But I can appreciate both, but I like the sweet coffee.
You like Swedish coffee?
I like Swedish and sweet coffee.
Oh, you like sweet coffee. From what I understood, it's like this. It's like when you try a fine wine for the first time or you get used to it. It's like in the U.S., we're okay with our sugary stuff.
Yeah.
Until you try the good stuff. That's what I'm... that's what I'm feeling.
The Swedish people will drink like black coffee, like right out of the big coffee, like right out of the pot or whatever. And when I first moved to Sweden, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was so gross, but it almost has this like bitter flavor. And now that I've lived here for a while, I've gotten like used to it, and I've gotten like the appreciation for it. So I think like it's sort of an acquired taste if you're not like around it. But coffee is like so addicting, like when you start drinking it every day. And I noticed, like, because I was drinking so much coffee, like the effects would, like, I would need more and more constantly.
Is that how it really is?
Definitely. And being in the society, like there was a couple weeks where I like tried to go without coffee to like reset my system, and it was like socially like unacceptable. They're like, what do you mean you're not drinking coffee? You're like, oh, are you better than the rest of us?
What's a normal day? What's a normal cup? 2, 3?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I never tried to go above 2 or 3, but I know people that have 7, 8 cups of coffee in a day. I mean,
all day.
Just all day. Of course, it's highly variable from person to person.
Sure.
But maybe like Americans, we get that like sugar rush all the time from eating sugar. Like I didn't realize my favorite cereal back home that I would eat is like from Trader Joe's. And you think of Trader Joe's like healthy. It's like a chocolate granola cereal with like nuts and everything in there. And I looked at the nutrition label and it was like 40% sugar.
Yeah,
like
of course.
40, it was like a serving was like 55 grams and it was like 20 something grams of sugar in there. I'm like, holy crap. Like, and that wasn't even, to me, I thought of it as being healthy. And I was speaking to a Swede about this, and she was going, that would be like outlawed in Sweden because you cannot market something that is that high sugar content as something that's actually healthy.
We're masters at that. That's probably one of the biggest things and issues in the U.S. in general is that we have all natural on things, and just it says all natural, but it's got all those weird code like red 5 and yellow 6 and all this weird stuff that we wouldn't normally put in. And we're masters at that. But American in general, there's a huge difference in the way we market our things and Sweden markets theirs. You know,
I think there's more regulations and things like in this country, like around food in general, which is like, good. Yeah, which is good. But it, like now when I go back to America, I realize how sweet everything is. But like being there before, I would have like not thought about it until I saw the contrast.
That's what I'm saying.
So then you can see why Swedish people do not like that when they're outside of Sweden.
I get it.
Next we got, number 3 is sort of a funny one, things that Swedish people don't like, and that is Finland and Denmark.
Finland and Denmark, hey! 2 countries I've lived in, and I mean, obviously, we're joking to a certain
it's like a brother-sister relationship.
Exactly. I feel that there is a very big rivalry between Sweden and Denmark, obviously, in a whole lot of different things. In sports, I'm sure, economically, and Copenhagen's this big, massive center, Stockholm's this type of thing. But what I've noticed across most of the Scandinavians, and this is from asking people in Scandinavia, they treat Finland like the long, hey, we don't quite understand your language, and we don't know why you guys, we don't know where your language also came from. Like this, it's like kind of weird. It's got this, Hungarian back. It's like what, but they're Scandinavian, you know, and so they treat them like this offset thing. But in Finland, they learn Swedish.
On the western side of Finland, there's a lot of Swedish-speaking communities.
Yeah, okay.
Number 4 for you guys, we have an interesting one because, I'm just going to come out and say it. Going to church. It's something that Swedish people, I don't know if they necessarily don't like to do it. They don't really do it that much. A lot of people are like members of the Swedish church, and they like donate to it as a form of like donating to charity, and like being members, you pay like a little bit of extra taxes that go to the church and helps good causes. But in terms of like going to church every Sunday, I don't know a single person. And Sweden is the least religious country in the entire world. And as a kid, I grew up in like a Catholic family where we went to church every Sunday. I didn't like it either. But what 10-year-old likes to go to church on a Sunday?
Or school at that. Anything you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But that being said, how stunning are the churches here?
They're beautiful.
Stunning.
Yeah, the architecture, it's great.
Crazy. But no, they really, I don't either. I don't know a single person that has mentioned anything about religion specifically. As a matter of fact, most of the Swedish people I've spoken to asked me why we're so gung-ho on religion and why it's so enveloped in our culture and society. And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, somehow it got kind of not necessarily politicized, but both sides are like, and God told me, and God this, and true. Christian values, and
every president says God bless America.
Yeah.
And I wonder because like the trend over time is less and less people are like interested in like going to church. If you were to compare from like 50 years ago to now, so I wonder like when is that going to be more of like a mainstream thing in America that will have a president of the United States that is not with religious ties in some way. You know?
I think yes. I think it's part of some of this old generation kind of moves away, and some of the newer, younger generation starts to take control of that old money and stuff like that. We could have we're already having things change from it's being openly gay. People are in politics now, and I even saw a congresswoman running in Miami who's openly said that she was abducted by aliens.
Wow.
Yes.
So we have more people that have been abducted by aliens in Congress than people that are not religious.
Yeah.
I was watching a Bill Maher video. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I know.
I love his content, and he is pretty openly atheist/agnostic. I'm not sure exactly where he stands on that spectrum, but in his interview with President Obama when he was president, he said that was the least represented group of people in Congress. Like the biggest minority group. It's like 20 to 30% of the population in the U.S. that is either agnostic or atheist, with almost zero representation in Congress. And Obama's response was, but is there any active persecution of atheists and agnostics? And I'm like, not that I can think of, but if that is 30% of the population, wouldn't you want 30% of the people representing those views as well? So I thought that it was very, very interesting to hear the sort of back and forth between a politician and somebody that is believing in less religious ideologies. The last thing that Swedish people do not like, and I'm looking at this mostly from the financial perspective, is owing somebody a favor. I noticed this, if I go out with some friends and I pick up the tab when the waiter comes with it or whatever, before I can even ask or mention something, they've already paid their half. I've already ding, so and so just paid you on Swish. I'm whoa, they do not want to owe anybody favors. Same sometimes Swedish people will be stressed out if you go out with a group of people for beers or whatever. R.I.P. the days when we used to go to the bars. But when we go out to if I were to be yep, I got the first round, some of the Swedish people are they're kind of stressed, oh shit,
I've got to get the next.
Okay. So I definitely think they don't it kind of goes into this wanting to have a society equal, everybody's sort of on the same footing, and they just hate to be indebted to somebody else. Sort of.
Yeah, it's really interesting because they have an amazing ability with this egalitarian, community and society that they've made up. So I haven't noticed it to such a huge extent, but I spend a lot of time alone. So maybe I just I will, the more I'm there. But I think it comes from that. It must come from just because the way I look at it, they don't like a figure like Ibrahimovic to the most extent because he's so far removed from this whole we're all equal thing. He's on the moon. But at the same time, it works for people, I guess, that would be beneath the spectrum as well. It's all right, well, let's lift you up and make you should at least have a home and healthcare and all these things. And so it translates into a little small setting of 5 people going out. It's just all right, well, if you paid, then I should pay.
Yeah, exactly.
And I should pay my half. And everybody should pay their halves, which is pretty cool to some extent. But also, it's nice in the U.S. too, or wherever, where I don't think about it too. I'm like you. It's all right, I don't count. Yeah. I'm not counting when I go out. I go out. Maybe you count if your one friend never buys a drink. Yeah.
With that, guys, those were the 5 things that we think that Swedish people do not like. If you think we missed something, leave it down below in the comment section. And with that, we'll see you in another video.
Later.